My mind is set, my grind is set, my heart on ice cold. I'm only here to even the score. Whoa. My mind is set, my grind is set, my heart on ice cold. We down right now, but did it before. Whoa. See from here we going up. Made the call, I shown up. Now the game is sewn up. Say my name is blown up. We up, 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 we up. See from here we going up. Made the call, I shown up. Now the game is sewn up. Say my name is blown up. We up, 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 we up.
What's up, everybody? It's another great week and another great episode of the Knighted Ones podcast, episode 39. 39. Can't believe we got this far and you put up with us. But as a reminder, we are the only podcast that features a former UCF National Champion, a former UCF radio host, an ESPN analyst and hoops player, infamous and infamous rapper, our resident influencer, and IG star shooting the breeze, talking UCF Sports. And, just a quick reminder before we start the show, we appreciate everything that you guys are doing. We see you in Australia. We see you in Japan. We see you in Germany. We see you all over the United States, and especially our hometown of Orlando. Remember to like and follow us on YouTube, IG, and check out the 70-plus teams and conferences that are represented on the College Huddle. So that was a lot, but this is an exciting week this week. Unfortunately, some of our teams will not be proceeding in the postseason. Softball ended its season this week, but baseball is gearing up for a big game tomorrow. By the time you hear this, it'll be today. And for this week, we have some exciting guests. So let me start by bringing in the team. First to the stage, as always, Nobra.
Hey now.
There it is. He finally got it. He finally got it without prompting. Great job, Nobra. Thank you for setting us up this week and each and every week. What are you eating tonight?
I ate a pub sub, turkey whole sub.
Oh, my gosh. All right. So no tacos, no Taco Mondays for Nobra. We've established that I got that wrong. It's always pub subs and not tacos, although it looks like it. Next on the stage, let's go ahead and bring in Tre Neal. What's up, Natty Champ?
Gentlemen, what are you doing?
Excited. We got a great week this week. Got a special guest that I'm excited to see.
Yeah,
and next we've got Alan. What's up, Alan?
What's up? What's up? Got to give a shout out to my son. It's his 3rd birthday. Happy birthday,
Woo!
Caden, and happy to be here.
All right. What kind of cake did you get him?
Cookie cake.
Cookie cake. Oh, come on, bro.
He's 3, whatever. He likes what he likes.
This isn't an ECU recruiting trip. Come on, we don't do cookie cakes anymore around here. You got to upgrade.
Hey, the cookie cake I had on my recruiting visit was amazing. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
Well, that was Publix, right?
Yeah, still.
Oh man, Publix is
Sure.
jammy jam.
Did you eat the whole cookie cake in one sitting?
Yes. We had like an hour. We had like an hour before we had to come back down to I forgot what we were doing, but man, I was like, don't mind if I do. And I was snacking on it the whole time.
Hold on, you ate the cookie cake in an hour?
Oh yeah, it wasn't a huge cookie cake. It was probably I don't know how to reference it.
Oh, so you got the
big.
3-star cookie cake. You didn't get the 4-star cookie cake.
That's what happens. 2014 was a long time than how we were doing in 2017, 2018.
Oh, I know. They're doing it big now. Let's go ahead and bring in, last but not least, but always last, Josh Lazar.
Why are all of my segments a cappella beats behind rhymes make it sound much better? The Knighted One podcast will never let up with energy and flows that will make you get up. Tonight we're going to talk about the LBs. Softball needed a few more ribbies. The crew almost made it to the place of 3. These are other sports that Alan Levin will not see. Call us Mario Brothers because we got that plum. See more fits on the field than a funky drum. We'll talk about ball together, never asunder. This is no satire, unlike Tropic Thunder. A fresh 16 from the infamous. Written 30 or less, dominoes this ish. To tell all the listeners what you should not miss, let's get on with the show. Roger, I'm finished. Let's go.
Wow. Okay, that was an original. That was a straight up original. We haven't heard that one before. He usually raps other people's songs. So good job, Josh. If TP's wife comes after me, I'm sending her to you because that was a little bit longer than what we usually do. But great job.
I wasn't gonna go like 150 beats per minute because I'm a cappella. And actually,
I will say,
here we go.
I will say, wow. No. That was original. I was gonna say that's original nasty there. So that was pretty nasty, especially throwing Allen under the bus there at the end.
I thought it was good. But I tried to match the beats for the intro. That was stylistic choice.
Well, then we gotta put the beat behind you. Then that will work a little bit better. So we'll work on that. All right. So without further ado, and so I'm not murdered in my sleep, I'm gonna bring TP on. He's our special guest this week. Welcome to the show, TP. Super excited to have you. I know I saw you in the stands. I met you in person a long, long time ago. You were on Nightline with us, and one of my favorite UCF football players and certainly favorite linebacker of all time. Welcome to the show, my friend.
What's up, y'all? What's up, everybody? I'm happy to be on here. Thank you, Roger. Thank you, Tre. Hey, Josh. I like it. And Alan, tell Aiden happy birthday, man. Happy birthday to your son, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. It's the Turkey and National Champion freestyling birthday kid. Charge on. What's up, fellas?
Charge on.
Yeah, no, bro, we've been wanting to get you on here for a hot minute. You and I talk a little bit outside of the podcast, and we talk football, we talk defense. Tre and I talk defense. I told you we were hyped because the defense is taken over this week, and there's nothing like hitting somebody, so I want to hit this one hard. You, my friend, for those people that don't remember, have a lot of accolades, so I want to run through those real quick. So a couple things. Two-time first-team All-AAC player, top 8 all-time in UCF history in tackles. You obviously played in the NFL for a hot minute, the CFL and the XFL. You were a Fiesta Bowl MVP and the destroyer of the Baylor Bears. So, that is you set the tone for what a UCF linebacker should be. And at least in our era, I know there were some other guys back in the day that were a little bit, were really good and went to the NFL as well. But in our era, in the modern era, I would say you, by all accounts, were our favorite linebacker and certainly one of the hardest hitting linebackers I've ever got to witness.
Man, I appreciate that, man. Thank you for that. I actually met some of the OGs at the alumni tournament, like Rick Hamilton, Giovanetti, Billy Giovanetti's father. These dudes, hey, I was top 8 all time, but when you meet Rick Hamilton, this dude like 6'3", 255, hands cover up my hands. You like, okay. You know what I mean? It's in the pedigree, I feel like. We play really good football. We play really good defense at UCF throughout our years, so it's an honor to be considered one of the best. You know what I mean? But I met some of them old guys. I know why they was who they were, and then of course I get to watch the new guys, right? And we've had some great linebackers that have came behind me. Of course, Keem. We lost Bethune, who I thought was dang near about to break my record. Then you got Jason Johnson, Eric Gilliard, and Nate Evans was a monster. I love Nate Evans.
Nate was a monster, 100%.
Yeah, man. We've had some good players play linebacker at our school. Of course, I had Troy next to me, who I think just didn't get the pub that he deserved. But if you look at Troy's career, he was a freshman starter as well, and he got a lot of time under him too. So people, it's all subjective, but I'm glad I was able to leave my mark.
Well, I love the fact that you, gave a nod to all those guys, because that's one of the things that was a hallmark of that. I think that 2013 team is everybody. We talk about how important chemistry is and playing for each other and like really being battle tested. It's interesting now because one of the things we talked about is the fact that players don't stay on this team for the duration of time that you guys did, and you, Tre's team and everybody else, right? There was continuity even in Tre's situation where he went from George O'Leary to Scott Frost, and a lot of those players that made Frost successful still had those George O'Leary technique. He was really big on technique, really big on physicality, and that really allowed that team to be kind of a hybrid. But you wouldn't have that today if Scott Frost or if George O'Leary left, or was let go or whatever. Today, those players would just transfer out. So that idea of team chemistry and being able to bond and knowing what your teammates are going to do without having to, you've got your hand signals and whatever, so you can let people know, especially as a middle linebacker, you're the quarterback of the defense, so you're calling all the plays, making sure everybody's shifts are in the right position, all that fun stuff. But in today's team, that quickness, that speed, that ability to instantly react, it's kind of eroded a little bit because you've got insert new player, fifth-year player or whatever on all of these teams. How do you feel that affects, the game in general? And, as a player, if you had to play with guys that were coming in that way, as a middle linebacker, how do you think that would affect the team's performance?
Well, the thing is, Roger, and Tre knows this, and we grew up in a different time, you know what I mean? Like what you're saying, now a team can be literally microwaved and you can almost dang near have a champion, especially if you have some key pieces that are already there. And you can bring in new guys from these other schools who have some experience and insert them into your game. But like you're saying, the continuity cannot be made up. What made us really great, the 2013 team, and I think what really made the 2017 team really great was the fact that we were all with each other for those duration of those 4 years. I think a lot of Tre's teammates that he was with, they were young when they were with us. So if Tre played with us in 2014, you get what I'm saying? He got to experience what it was like to be a conference champion, because we were back-to-back conference champions in 2014, and also go to a bowl game. I think what really hurt the 2015 team was that they just didn't have any ability to get on the field because of 2013 and 2014. Everybody who was there we lost only 8 seniors in 2013, and those were some crucial positions, right? Those were the offensive line. So you literally lost Justin Jordan McCray, then you lost Chris Martin. So all we had left was Joey and Torrey, which was really good, when you consider you lose 3 of your top linemen, but you still got 2 of them. We were able to fill in with some of those young guys, and we had a crazy rotation that year. But then when Joey and Torian leave, you literally have a whole entire new offensive line. Yep. So, that's what was going on during that time, and I think that ended up being the reason why the 2015 team wasn't good. It wasn't that they weren't good, because if you look at the players, those are the same players that were part of the 2017 roster. Mm-hmm. So, but like you said, you don't have that time to grow with each other anymore. And, I think the biggest tell of what's going to happen with the transfer portal, we have to look at Clemson. Clemson hasn't really used the transfer portal. They're still doing it the old school way. So if they get a good recruiting class and maybe like 2 or 3 years and let those guys develop and they decide to stay there and they end up, making it to this expanded college football playoff, then that might be Dabo's pitch. Hey, we might not win it in our first 2, but by your 3rd year, we're playing for a national championship because you got the right development and you got the continuity. You don't have to worry about me going to grab this guy and that guy to just fill it in. We're going to rock with you guys. And I think, if some college football programs could take that mindset, hey, we might not win this year. We got an influx of guys right now that we're willing to work with and keep developing that way. Then they probably might be better than some of these put together teams that are put together in 1 year, in which you fill in here, there, and the third. And now, we don't have that continuity. How do I know to trust you as a Mike linebacker if we've only had a spring to practice with one another? Yep. Spring is good. Spring lets you see the talent level, but it doesn't let you know who's gonna fight in that foxhole with you in the 4th quarter. So you're still, and
I want to point that out, right? You're still learning the playbook if you've only got 1 spring under your belt. Number one, you're learning the base defenses at that point, right? And then number 2, that whole point, and this is something Tre's brought up quite a bit on this show, is that fourth quarter extra, right? Like that extra effort that gets you over the top, and when it's a close game, because y'all played in a lot of close games. I mean, there was a reason they called you the Cardiac Knights. Like I remember those games, and I was like, oh my gosh. I remember even the Cows game, and ECU. Sure. Gosh, that ECU game, bro. That game, I was so mad because we were ahead. I shut off the TV, and then I was like, I can't do this and not watch the end of the game. And I turned it back on. Like, I had little kids. We were talking about my son earlier, right? He was little. He was maybe like 2, something like that, right? I turned it back on, and it was like literally on that last play. And he caught the ball. Perriman catches the ball, and I just screamed like a little girl. It was so loud. I woke up my kid, and I didn't even care. My ex-wife was yelling at me. I didn't care. I was just elated. But that entire season was that way. It was that grittiness. And being able to gut it out and just winning no matter what. Now, 2017 had some of that in it, but I think y'all had it at another level. And, I'd really love for you to talk about that, about how much that affects that team chemistry in tough situations, because it felt like sometimes these more recent teams have folded, in those tough situations.
Yeah, we were just, it was just a special time to be on Gemini Boulevard back then, because just being honest with you, because you got to think that 20 in all honesty, in all my years of playing college football, that 2012 team was easily the most talented I ever played on. And we get kind of forgotten because we didn't get the conference championship and we lost to Tulsa twice.
Bro.
Yeah. And the thing is,
I'm still mad. Hold on, I'm still mad about that, because for the fans that don't remember,
Burnett,
players came off the sideline, man.
There was a whistle, bro.
There was a whistle. It was legit, you know what I mean? But that's the thing, Roger. Like, it's something about like timing, and it's just something about timing. And the timing was that 2012 team. If you look at that team, that's where all the NFL players, like all of us, were on that team. So if you just go to the 2012 offensive line and the offense, it's the same guys, but you include guys like Latavius Murray, who's still playing in the NFL right now, and then you got a guy like Quincy McDuffie, who played in the NFL, who's literally probably the best kick returner in history. This is over Joe Burnett and Mike Hughes, and but Mike Hughes has the most impactful kick return. Let's get that straight. It's the greatest kick return in UCF history.
100%.
There's no question about that. But Quincy is the best kick returner in the history of the school. Joe's probably the best punt returner. You know what I mean? But not to get off into that tangent. But what I'm saying is, the 2012 team, we were so good, and then for us to lose conference. I remember Coach Leary just being out of his mind, just upset, not with us, just with the whole situation of, we did what we were supposed to do, held this high-powered offense down to their lowest totals beyond measures that year, and we weren't able to complete the mission. But what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, us losing that is the reason why we won in 2013. That's why those games were so close. You got to think, to lose a conference championship and then to lose to the same team twice, how much that fueled us during that offseason. And we knew we had an opportunity to play the big boys too. Because that's where I think things get a little misconstrued about that 2013 team now. We're in a Power 5 conference, technically. It might have felt like a G5, but we were in a Power 5 conference. It was just the Big East. So we had the loss of the year before, losing the conference championship, and plus it was an opportunity for all of us to showcase that we could play with the big boys. And I think that was what really welded us together, on top of the fact that Coach O'Leary knew his leadership style was, if everybody hates me, that means they love each other.
Yep.
If that can make sense to you.
Yep.
If they all complain about me, that means they're together. And they're not going to complain so much about me that they're going to, not want to do right by coach or not do well, because they know that they still want to play ball. So let me be the ugly face, so that way we can all find a common goal. We're going to prove you wrong. You know what I mean? We're going to prove, and that's how smart he was, and that's how a leader leads. Bill Belichick type. He comes from that type of tree of understanding the Bill Parcells.
I don't know. He wasn't quite Darth Vader. George O'Leary. One of the things I'll say about George O'Leary, though, with the fans, like, he was the most gracious guy. If you got him in a one-on-one situation or something like that, most heartfelt, gracious. I think for him, UCF being built to where it was at that point, he remembered what it was like on his first winless season, right? And he had come in, he had his own challenges prior to coming to UCF, and this was him proving it. Like, he did his thing at Georgia Tech, then he had that whole Notre Dame thing, and he went to the NFL, and he kind of came back to us. This was his baby. He took a lot of pride in that. And as you saw the fan base grow, and you saw the success, and you saw new heights like the Fiesta Bowl, like, honestly, I'm sure if he wanted to, if he could have, he would. And I know he told Dr. Hitt that he wanted to shut it down at that point, but Dr. Hitt kind of talked him into staying a little bit longer. But George O'Leary, that was the culmination of a vision that he and John Hitt, the stadium, the indoor practice facility, all of that stuff, that was all George O'Leary, right?
Yep.
When he got hired on, that was what he wanted to do. So for him, I think it's interesting because who he was as a coach versus who he was to the fans, when you got him alone on fan days, or if you got him, walking around when he wasn't barking at someone, he absolutely appreciated all the people that supported, because the program wasn't where it was before him.
Yes, sir. And I've seen, and that's the thing, though. With Coach O'Leary, my personal relationship with him, he demanded a lot out of me, a ton. But when I got to talk to him one-on-one, I did get a good sense of that he really cared about how I was leading and how I was treated as a player. And in my senior year, I'm gonna be honest with you, he did take it kind of nice on me. So I think he saw what I went through junior year. He gave me a little pass my senior year. I got to sit out of practice. I was so happy. And I believe it. But my nature was to go practice, because that's how he taught me, So trust me, I agree 100% with you. I know Coach was. That's why that's my mindset as a player during that time. He was pushing us so hard that we didn't know where he was pushing us to, but he obviously knew where he was pushing us. So
I have one question that's Tre related. So you guys had a little bit of overlap there, right? You saw young, skinny, according to Tre come onto the practice field. What were your impressions, honestly? And it's okay to make a little fun of him, because we do that on the show here. What do you have any memories that kind of stuck out about Tre at that time, good, bad, or hilarious?
Tre, one thing I could say about Tre was that smile that dude used to walk in that building with. He would always have a smile. Now listen, he was a freshman during that time, so I'm sure he was getting it in all type of ways from all different type of people. But one thing I knew about Tre that was going to help him, and from what I had learned from Brandon Alexander, somebody who we actually played with, was that he was going to be intelligent and smart out there. And that's half of being a UCF Knight and earning the trust and loyalty of your team. It's not at our school. We've had great prospects, we've had great players. But the stars get always misconstrued, because we had a few star players that never even panned out for us. You know what I mean? What made you a UCF Knight during that time under George O'Leary's tenure was, are you physical? Are you smart? And do you have heart? And those are the only ramifications of being a UCF Knight. He never used to make us run 40s. He never used to care about none of that stuff. He cared that we were in the weight room and hitting the numbers that he felt that were required for whatever position that you were in. But if you were a smart player, if you were a physical player, and if you had a heart, you could play for him. And that's why I knew about Tre. Tre wasn't scared of nothing, and he was smart. So we knew he was going to be okay. Now, can I say that Tre could play his freshman year at that level with Brandon Alexander and Clayton Gathers back there? Hell no.
Hey, TP, I'll never forget. TP, Coach Callahan told me, I think 3 days into spring ball, he was like, I'm going to be honest. I got 2 NFL guys. Y'all, he told me, Kyle, and Chris Williams, he said, I have 2 NFL guys at y'all's positions. Y'all are all getting redshirted. I'm going to be honest. He said, I want y'all to keep working. He said, I want y'all to keep working. But y'all are getting redshirted. He said, we're going to bring y'all and travel y'all a little bit. Like, y'all are going to travel so y'all can learn just learn it, the ropes. But he's like, y'all aren't playing. Y'all ain't ready to play like this. Y'all can't do it.
Well, I mean, that's saying a lot with Kyle Gibson.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Roger. I'm sorry.
No. I was just gonna say, like, that's saying a lot with Kyle Gibson too. You know what I mean? Because he was very highly touted too. Tre not so much, but Kyle was definitely highly touted coming out of high school.
No, we knew that too coming in that Kyle was really the one that everybody that was like, supposed to be the high recruit. But this is the thing that people don't realize, and it's a different world now, and the game has changed. So, my philosophy is the further you are away from the ball, from the line of scrimmage, the earlier you can play in college football. If you're that talented in terms of speed, agility, everything like that. But the thing you can't have is experience. If you were that talented in high school, you have to be so much leaps and bounds better than the competition on an athletic skill point that you can come into the NCAA and be viable as a freshman. And it's easier for offensive players to do that than defensive players because offensive players determine how the play goes. When you're on defense, I mean, to be honest, you could be a 5-star cornerback, but if you go against Gabe Davis in his junior year, bro, you're going to get cooked. I'm just being honest. You just don't know enough. You've never, unless, but there are cases that you can have that, but
it's rare.
It's very rare. I would say that it's very rare, you know what I mean? So that's the biggest, to me, that's the biggest thing that separates a high school player and a college player. And it's same for the NFL too. A college player can go to the NFL, but your knowledge is just not there. You got to know splits. You got to know down and distance. You got to know what they like to do in the alumni zone. It just gets nuts. So that's my philosophy on it.
Yeah, you don't have the mental reps, right? That's the big thing. The mental reps, like, if you're having to think about it, the play's already gone by you. And
yes, sir.
Like when you're talking about, corners, or defensive backs, the big thing with them is if they can't out-athlete whoever's on the league or get them, bump them at the line of scrimmage to get them off of their timing, you're not going to make a difference because if a receiver gets out in space, they're going to double move you. They're going to do something to get you off your back because it's all about positioning, footwork, and then, your hands when you talk about DBs. And the big thing is just to bump them off the line. If you can't bump them off the line and disrupt the route, it's not going to happen. So, that's a part of it. And then what defensive line you have behind you too. A lot of those guys, especially in the secondary, if you've got a good D line, they can allow you to make mistakes and then correct it and then catch up if you're fast enough with the receiver. And but that's very hard to do. I mean, that's what they say, 4 and 5 stars are supposed to be ready for surefire NFL guys. But at the end of the day, I think the big thing that George O'Leary did really well, which translated to the 2017 team, was he got the technique and the work ethic down. And then that allowed the 2017 team, the 2016, 2017 team to play more free within the system because a lot of those guys had the mental reps. They had the technique down. Your linemen knew where their hands went. Your linebackers knew what gaps to hit, how to scrape. That's the biggest thing watching UCF linebackers lately, the newer guys, not the ones that were holdovers, because we'd have one guy like that would be there playing the Mike position, but the other two were fairly new. What I'm seeing that I'm missing a lot the last couple of years was physicality, tackling, and scraping. We were not, from a linebacker position, we weren't scraping the way that we should. And then from a safety position, we were picking the wrong hole when we were trying to do that. And then last year, and this is where defensive coordinators come in. Last year, and this is no slight on our coordinator last year because it was his first year, but it was a very basic defense. Yes. And what I expect to see out of this year's defense is so much more complicated. The guys coming out of spring were saying, hey, we're doing shifts, we're doing delayed blitzes, we're doing disguise in our blitzes, we're doing a lot of things that weren't happening last year, and that puts you at a disadvantage against the offense because it's constantly checks, right? And you're playing the averages. And if you know what your averages are or what they're going to potentially do out of what formation, that goes back to those mental reps. If you don't have those mental reps, you don't know, what the tendencies are, what they're going to do out of that formation, if they're checking out of it, if you see someone peeling out, if you're watching the linemen and seeing what they're doing with zone blocking schemes, if you don't understand that, you're not going to be able to pivot and adjust and make those right adjustments when you're playing defensively. So,
and see, a lot of that, Roger.
Go ahead.
Like a lot of that, I learned from like guys like TP when they were getting like a lot of that stuff you learn is film, tendencies, alignments, what plays are coming, averages, all that's film. I didn't really, when I was in high school, when I watched film, I would just watch player tendencies, how they release, because that's all I really worried about when I was at safety. When I got to college, I saw how TP and them would break down and distance. You get these are the kind of routes you get down distance. I'm just speaking more for like DBs, but then I'd see them talk. These are the kind of runs you're getting, 2nd and 10. These are the kind of runs you're getting 2nd and 1. This is what the guard does. He's light on his hands. Things like that, I never really looked at. And that's how you gotta, because at defense we're playing catch up. We don't know what the offense is running. They know what they're running, and they can kind of know what we're running too. But we don't know what they're running. So how do we catch up and make it even? We have to watch film to get those tendencies.
Yeah.
Get anything we can pick up on it. And again, I learned a lot just sitting in the back of the room, not, picking my nose, even though I wasn't really paying attention, but I would still see how they watch film, and then it carries over to the next guys and the next guys and the next guys. Like that's what, to me, I feel like we are kind of lacking is, and again, I don't know exactly, but these guys, the way I've watched it ever since, like I've learned from like TP and then like Brim and then like these older guys. That's how I watch football now. So, like, I see tendencies when I'm watching the games. I'm like, how are these guys not seeing this? And they are looking at this all week. Like, and it blows my mind. I'm like,
dude, our text thread, you know this. I'm calling it out mid-game. I'm like, now, again, I'm not on the field, and it's a lot harder to see it when you're, eye level with people versus when you're seeing it from your seat or from the sky, right? But you're watching it and you're like, okay, I can see this. How are we not seeing this? Or how are we not coaching our guys when they do see it so that the next time they go back to it? You know what I mean? Because they'll do it again.
Yeah, and I think, Roger, that was part of what the defensive coordinator was probably going through last year, and that's why you saw such a vanilla package probably. Yeah. Was the fact that his players, he didn't feel comfortable enough that they knew going into the game to do, these tendencies or, we can blitz a formation. We've done that many times during my times of being a pro and a college player. If I see 3x1 gun strong in which the back is to the 3x1 side, we might just go ahead and send a comment off the edge because we know
you might as well because you have nothing else. Yeah,
you're gonna run. Exactly. You're gonna run the ball to this side, or we're gonna cover all that to the field. So like I think that could partly be the reason why. But that's a good thing now that he made. So what's the carryover in terms of how many athletes we're keeping at the linebacker position from last year's team going into this year's team?
Very few. We got it. I think it's like Alan
74 new linebackers.
7 or 9 linebackers we brought in.
Wow. It's 5.
5. Okay, 5 linebackers.
There's technically 6 that could play, but they were listed as on the transfer graphic. They're listed as safety or DB, but they played LB at their previous school. So technically it'd be like 6, but we don't know where they're going to be placing them yet. But on their transfer graphic, they're like a hybrid basically.
Okay, so we're running like a 4-2-5 defense.
Yeah. It's going to be
we're going to have a star linebacker.
Yeah. It'll be a sub package for base.
So is that Deshaun Page who's going to be filling that role?
Yeah, Pace. Well, Pace. I saw they
Pace.
have.
I'm
him
sorry,
at,
Pace, not Page. Pace.
What?
I said Page. I'm sorry. Pace. I'm sorry. Saying his last name wrong. His
Pace
name
is Pace is what he meant.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pace is there. Actually, they have him listed as one of the starting linebackers right now, I believe. Actually, even though I think the transfer graphic had him as a safety, I want to say, but I think they have him right now as one of the starting linebackers with Ethan Barr.
Okay. See, I actually I did a little research on Pace, and I see that he was at Cincinnati, and he has some pretty great stats at Cincinnati.
Yeah, he did. No, he was good.
200 plus tackles. Got a few picks in there. He seems like a pretty good player. You know what I mean? I like that. And he's a fifth-year senior, so hopefully he can bring in some leadership qualities that can get these guys along. Because at the end of the day, you need somebody to be the catalyst of your team. You know what I mean? Somebody that everybody can look at to rely on during tough times, and also be like a multiplier, which is like,
force multiplier.
I think the one good quality that I had a lot of bad qualities in linebacker. I know people think I'm all this and that, but I had a lot of bad qualities. As I got to be a pro, I learned so much more and got so much better. But I think my one good quality was when I knew something was about to happen, I'm letting everybody know. I'm letting the offense know. And people be like, well, why would you want to let the offense know? Because they're used to being at such an advantage of the defense not knowing what's going on. As soon as you yell out their play or something close to it, you can literally see it in their face. You can literally see, or a lineman like does something new, or and that I think that's what you need. You need a guy like that to just sometimes doesn't have to be the best athlete, TP. Doesn't have to be the biggest, TP. Doesn't have to be the strongest, TP.
Tre.
What you got is somebody who, you know what I'm saying, bro?
That was my job.
Really
TP, that was my job. Was to do the exact same thing.
Tre. That's
my job.
Exact same thing. You're the captain.
Yep.
So the thing is, Tre, you might not have been, just like I wasn't like the gaudiest athlete, but it was almost like your coaches knew that you wouldn't give up the big play and you were good enough to be able to help others on the way there. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, and that's a quality that you need. Another great linebacker I can think of that won a national championship recently, but it was a few years back, was like Ben Boulware. He's never played in the NFL.
Yeah,
played for the Clemson Tigers. But the dude was just a catalyst. You could just see it. He's playing next to Isaiah Simmons and all these great talented athletes. But
TP, I can speak. Everybody feels a lot more comfortable when you're on the field with them, because it's just they feel like I don't have to worry about anything, because if TP sees it, he's gonna tell me. That's how I've tried to play. Like, I want y'all, because I know everybody around me is the freak athletes. I want y'all to play as fast as possible. If I have to tell you everything that I see, tendencies, I'll scream it. I don't care. But I want y'all not to have to think and just play. And then, I can fill in a little bit and make my plays too. But, like, I realized that was my role, because I'm playing next to Mike Hughes, next to Shaquem, Tristan Hill, KG. All these guys are freak shows. Like, can do some crazy stuff. I was a good athlete. I wasn't like you said, I wasn't the best athlete. I had to be smart, because that's how I could play. I'm not gonna get beat deep. I'm not gonna blow my assignment, but I'm gonna be in the right spot all the time. And that's what I think you did the best for me. And again, you still were an amazing player in that. Like, we're not gonna act like you weren't. But like, when I saw that, I'm like, that's how you can make everybody else around you. Like, you were a force multiplier around you. BA, same thing. Force multipliers in the secondary, because you playing with Jacoby Glenn, you're playing with Clayco. Those guys were beasts, but BA just like, look, do this, and just let them play. And they were smart in their own right too, but just
they were, bro. They were very smart, man. You know what I mean? And that's and like you saying, Tre, like having those guys, and then I also got to play with Kamal Ishmael, who's probably Kamal, Ziggy. I mean, we had Clayton, we had Brandon, and then Tre, and then we had Kyle, and then we got Richie.
We were having this debate. We were having this debate actually like 2 shows ago, where we were talking about how much talent was on that team defensively and how many NFL players were on that team. And I don't think people really realize it. I mean, everybody knows where Blake went and, all that stuff, but they didn't realize, like, not even that next season, but the one after, when some of these guys were going in the draft, there was an obscene amount of talent on that team. Like George
Yes, sir.
O'Leary did a great job of finding NFL talent and developing them to the point where they were. And that's another thing that people, I don't want to make this the George O'Leary show, but one of the things he did was he really had a lot of connections.
He did.
And he taught people like what you needed to show in the NFL, in the combine, in the meeting room, in all of those different places for you to be successful and be picked up. And not a lot of people give him the credit for that because he didn't talk about it. Now you talk to the players, they'll all tell you that. Everybody knew when you were put up on the whiteboard and coaches were shooting plays at you, what do you do here? What do you do here? What did you do during this? And what should you have done? Everybody was well prepared for that when those coaches were asking that, because coach knew what the NFL was looking for and prepared people specifically for the NFL, not necessarily the system he was playing.
Yes, sir. Coach used to do, hey, Roger, let me tell you, man. So it'll be a Thursday. We'll get into the team meeting room. Tre knows what time it is. You better be there 15 minutes before the meeting actually starts. He's walking in at that time. There's no second guessing it or nothing. So you get in there, and guess what? He gets there, and then you're in front of all your peers. Everybody in the Dwayne Ditch is in that building right now. And he's going to call on select people to tell them what the game plan is. What are their top 3 runs? What are their top 3 passes? What are they going to do in the red zone? Who's their best player on offense? And we used to have to like stand up in front of it, but like I used to think like, golly, like coach is just OD right now. Like,
really?
You know what I mean? I used to think that. But then as I got older, I started realizing, no, he was just trying to show that you guys are accountable for everything that goes on in this building right now. So if you don't even know the game plan going into this week, you know what I mean? And the thing is, if you didn't know it, and then that moment happened and he called you out, by the time that Saturday, that Friday came, you knew the game plan. You know what I mean? So like, it was crazy how, you don't think about that, right, Roger? But I was super prepared to be a pro in that aspect, in which like you're put on, you have to be able to showcase your knowledge to the team first, as well as the, your game.
Because if you don't know what the game plan is, how can we trust you on the field?
That's true.
How can we do it?
That's the truth, bro.
And we know, okay, and the good thing about it, we're not finding out on Saturday when the lights are shining bright. That's the best part. We find out Thursday, okay, we can sharpen it up. And it was never like, I mean, we'd be laughing if you say the wrong thing, but it was good that we know you didn't know. So now you can fix it. We can work to fix it by Saturday when it happens. And besides, figuring out, oh, you didn't know this on Saturday and you just gave up a 60-yard bomb or a 60-yard run because you misfit something that we've gone over all week. So I appreciated it. Again, I laughed because I didn't really have to do it that much. When I was
you weren't about to get called out.
but I appreciated why he did it, because again, you carry that over to now you get on the board with the Miami Dolphins. You get on the board with the Minnesota Vikings. That's the exact same thing they're asking you to do. It's the exact same thing.
That's a fact.
Tell me what you do when you fit this run. Oh, we do this. What's the D lineman do when you do this right here? What's these top 3 runs that you saw against this game? Like, that's literally what they're going to do, the same thing. They're grilling you on the same stuff. So
yeah.
All about prep. All right, so you mentioned our current linebackers, and you said you did a little bit of research. I think one of the things that was important for us was size. We upped our size quite a bit, and we added some experience, right? So just going bottom to top, right? Ethan Barr, 5th-year senior, 6'3", 245. That's a big linebacker, right?
Big boy.
Josiah Pierre, 6'2", 240, 5th year. Now, all of these guys, we were used to like 210, 215, right?
Yep.
Deshaun Pace, who you mentioned, 6'2", 220, 5th year. Leary Alexander, 6'2", 215, sophomore. Now, we're expecting a lot out of him too, so it'll be interesting. DJ McCormick, 6'1", 205, freshman. So he's going to put on some weight. Kieran Henderson, 6'2", 225, redshirt senior. Quentin Hatch, he's probably not going to play much. 6'1", 215, redshirt sophomore. Camden Vining was 6 foot, 225, redshirt junior. Andrew Harris, 6'2", 210, sophomore. Troy Ford Jr., 6'2", 235, redshirt freshman. Now, I'm waiting on him to get his chance. He was a big get. Cam Moore, 6'1", 205, junior. TJ Bullard, or as Alan taught me, Bullard, which is the correct way of saying it, I guess, is 6'1", 200 pounds. And that's just the linebacking room, right? So all of those guys, pretty good size, pretty good heft, but more experience. Junior, redshirt sophomore, which is a junior, redshirt freshman, sophomore, redshirt junior, which is a senior, redshirt sophomore, which is a junior, redshirt senior, freshman, sophomore, fifth year. What that told me was our defensive coordinator wanted size, right? Because the offenses that we played in the Big 12 were not the offenses that were traditional Big 12 offenses, right? Big 12 offenses are thought of as air raid style, and that's a different mold of a defender that you need and different defenses. We played power teams, power running teams, a lot of A-gap teams.
Kansas State for sure.
Oklahoma State. Look at Oklahoma State. They were always an air raid style. That's what they're known for. And last year, they were one of the top running teams in the country, right? So we bulked up. We've got a pretty solid D-line already with a lot of guys that matured. But we bulked up and we brought in seniors because, to your point, they've got mental reps elsewhere. It'll be easier for them to figure it out here, and we can run more complex defenses. The big focus, you heard it all off season, was stop the running game. You got to have some size to you if you're going to stop these guys, because unfortunately, we had some guys here that were hometown heroes, 4-star guys. They were a little bit on the smaller side, and unfortunately, you saw that when they were trying to tackle some of these big. I mean, these backs are 6 foot, 6'1", 210, 220 pounds, running full speed downhill at you. If you're 190 pounds to 200 pounds and you're about 5'10", that's going to be real hard to stop as a linebacker unless you're just, just trying to dive at feet. You know what I mean?
These guys they won't strike you for real. You know what I'm saying? Like they'll get a little nasty, but they weren't striking like you were striking, like Troy Gray, like, Kamal and Clayco would strike. They weren't doing that. That's the problem.
Yeah.
That was the problem.
See, and that's the thing too. I'm happy that we've gotten size. And I'm happy that our team is. I heard that we were the number 2 team in the transfer portal, actually. Which is a credit to UCF right now, because it's showing that we're getting the viable athletes. I agree with what Tre's saying too. Sometimes it's just a will and a want to. And these guys got to be able to develop it. But with the size that we've been able to add, that should be able to help bolster our defense against the run. Yeah, go ahead, Roger.
I was gonna say, did you get to catch any of the games last year? I know you mentioned K-State. I know you were busy doing your own thing too.
Yeah. I actually caught the Baylor game when they actually when they.
I blame. Okay, Josh, you're off the hook. I'm blaming TP now.
Anniversary. That was a crazy game, man. That was pretty. And to be honest, I think the run game played a huge deal in that. I think Baylor ran off like 190 on us. I can't remember what the totals were, but we were up a whole bunch to nothing, and that was and that's the thing though, Roger. Like UCF played so well last year just to end up at 6 and 7. I felt like in some aspects of their season, and and this is my thing, and this is where we have to remember the people that came before us. And then so that way we can be able to help the future of what the UCF Knights are. We built a legacy for being a team that makes it happen when it's the most crucial time. Over the last decade, I would say. Ever since 2010, all the way up until 2014, if you just look at our resume, we've won a lot more closer games than we lost closer games during that time, except for seasons of which we weren't as good as a team that we were, you know what I mean? So that happens, that happens with the
except
team. Except Tulsa. Hey, Roger.
We can't win at Tulsa, bro. We cannot win at Tulsa.
But
I blame it because they have a small stadium and about 7 fans that show up. So we don't know what to do with ourselves.
Well, they're in Oklahoma in the middle of the tornado alley. So I remember being in the hotel room scared the night before the game because the weather was crazy.
I believe that.
So, and we had to wake up, and we were in Oklahoma. So what is that? An hour behind. So we had an 11 o'clock game, but we had to wake up at 5 that morning to get to the stadium by 8 for the 11 o'clock kickoff. I hated Tulsa for that. Hated Tulsa for that.
I think everybody hates them.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is we on the whole grand scheme of things, if we're gonna become the premier school of the history of, we're gonna become the premier school in Florida, which I think we're gonna be, which I know we're gonna be. I'm not gonna think it, I know we are. We gotta always remember the history. And if the kids can get the history at all times, this is where you come from. If you're gonna be a Knight, this is where you come from. This is what we've been able to achieve here, going all the way back to Division II, when we beat, when we first got Division I, beat Alabama and all this. Like, this is what and it's so brand new and fresh. That's how you bring it to the kids. You can continue this legacy of, this is what the Knights have been able. We're the school that's taken off. We're the space school, and it's the reason why we're the space schools, because now we're in the space age. So we need to always remember this, the history of what we've been able to do, and I feel like that'll help because I've never seen us, for the most part, I've never seen us take off the gas like we did the Baylor game. You know what I mean? I've never seen that. I've never been a part of that. In all honesty, I've never remember a game in which we've been up by so much. Maybe that East Carolina game from my senior year. I remember us being up 2 touchdowns, but we were up 3-4 touchdowns versus Baylor. That's besides the point. But I just always want that factor of just, hey guys, you're a UCF Knight. This is what you come from. So this is what you play for. But it's a new transfer age. So maybe I'm just the old head now. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm just the old head.
We're all old heads now, bro. But that's all right. But here's the good thing about that, right? Is like, from a player's perspective, you get to make the history, right? From a fan's perspective, you get to experience the history, right? Our generations, even the guys that were following from 1979 on, those folks were able to. I think his wifey jumped in and said, "You're done, bro." Those teams. And those fans, they get to remember all of that. And I did have a couple of other questions I wanted to share with TP. I'm sure we'll get him back on at some point. But real quick, thank you to him for coming on.
Great.
I hope his he's back. He's back. All right, bringing him back to the stage.
Welcome back.
Hey, Roger. I'm sorry. I saw a chat here and I clicked it, and next thing you know, I was out of the stream yard. My fault.
I just wanted to make sure there wasn't a 187 on you. Wifey said, "Oh, it's getting past an hour," so But
not the numbers I think you think they.
Well, I know what they are. I know what 187 is, dude. Come on now. But like,
what about 143?
All right, we're not going there. So anyway, at the end of the day, the point that I was trying to make was, we have had the benefit of making and witnessing the history of UCF football. I do think, one of the things, unless we had some legacy players come through here, but as the transfer portal turns, it'll be really interesting to see how many of those players learn that because they've stuck around long enough to learn it, right? I think the big thing for us, we've always been a challenger brand. I've said this on Nightline. I've said it on the radio show. I've said it on here. Every 8 years on average, we move up conferences because we get into a conference, we start feeling it out, and then we start winning, right? I think the big thing here, and I hate to say this because I love being in the Big 12 and I love that we're in it, but I said this before we even joined. UCF, our aspiration, now you're starting to see the SEC and Big Ten try to separate itself here. Our aspirations have to be in the SEC or the Big Ten. Like that has to be where we set our sights. And based on what's going on now, which, by the way, you should be owed some money. You and Trey are going to be rolling in dough here based on this lawsuit that just came through, right? $2.3 billion to be distributed.
Straight to me.
Huh? Not to
Hold
you
on,
alone.
wait, hold on, Roger. What you talking
I was
about,
about
Roger?
to-
I ain't hear about that. I ain't heard
You
about
didn't?
that. What you talking about, Roger?
Does he be getting to that class? Is he in the time frame?
Yeah, he should be part of you should be part of that class action suit. So they did a class action suit that came out recently. It's 2.3 billion that's going to be owed to the players over a period of time because of the NIL thing. And so they're going to start back paying that, and it's going to cost each power team about 22 million a year. In between back paying, I think they're going to have to pay like 3 million a year to that fund, and then the NCAA is going to basically withhold distributions from the basketball tournament to offset the cost that they're going to be paying out as their portion of it. So,
How much do you think we're going to get, Roger?
I don't know how many players have come through that would be eligible. I'd say at least $5 in a bag of chips. You know what I mean? Doritos.
That's $5 in a bag of chips I didn't have, so I'll take it.
So no, but seriously, I don't know how much it's going to be, but it should be. It's not going to be an insignificant amount. Just remember that you will be taxed on it. So don't spend it all in one place. So
that's right.
You know, but at the end of the day, and this is I know we're getting close to an hour with you, TP, and thank you for being with us this long. You know, we haven't even talked about a lot of the history and some of the games that you've played in, and I think we'll have to have you back to kind of talk about that, because there were some bangers. I remember them, and some hot games. I remember sitting in the walk, as we like to call it when it gets hot, and almost passing out of the time. But you know, we've talked a little bit about UCF football's future. We've kind of talked a little bit about their present. What do you want to see out of UCF football out of this season? What are your expectations?
Well, I remember talking to Alan, and I had some hefty expectations I think a year ago, and I thought that we could win conference our first year being in the Big 12, considering that it was the 10-year anniversary of us actually going into the American Athletic Conference and being able to win in that. And maybe my goals and expectations were a little bit lofty with that understanding. To me, I guess I can say my expectations for UCF are to be better than last year. You know, it seems like every time we go 6 and 7, it's something that next year we do something pretty damn good.
Telling you.
So I'm not gonna put that out there or anything like that. But I want the team, for us to have, if we're living in today's society and we're living under today's circumstances, and considering that today's circumstances are NIL and transfer portal and all the different things, we have the number 2 transfer portal in all the country. We have the number 2 transfer portal in all the country in terms of our ranking. We have players like R.J. Harvey, who were all conference players last year. We got players on defense that were on the defensive line, you know, that are all conference players that are going to go back. We should have a much improved quarterback in KJ Jefferson that we're hoping, with him being able to play in the SEC and now coming to the Big 12, which we probably consider the SEC a tougher conference than the Big 12, you know. So and we got a lot of wide receivers, I'll tell you that. And we got some good DBs coming in, you know, coming from some big schools. I hope that we can win the Big 12. You know, why not dream big? Why not say we can't be a part of this Hispanic college football playoff? We got everything we need. We got the resources. You know, we got the recruiting class. You know, we got the infusion of veteran leadership and new talent to come to the school. I mean, why not shoot for that? And that's the thing about us being at UCF now. We have this. It's for some reason, and you know, being a fan and everything and seeing all the success, we have this expectation that we're gonna do well every year, and that's not the case. But I'm saying that last year we did okay. It's time to do well. So I think we're gonna do well this year. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna put us on that stratosphere of, you know, what I think we'll be able to do in college football next year. You know, for one thing, I can tell you, we're probably going to have one of the biggest games in UCF history when Colorado comes through there, and Prime brings his whole team there. So, like, we're also doing stuff because of the new opponents that we're facing. We're about to be on a whole nother level of college football again. So, especially if we can beat those guys with the talent that they have over there, with Prime being from Florida too, it's going to be a pretty special day. I don't know. I know my family wants to go to that game, and I know a ton of people who want to go out there and see that. So,
you going to the Gators game?
To the Gators game, that Gators game is huge. It's at Florida. So I don't think I'm gonna go there. I don't really want to go to the swamp. It's not like I'm scared of nothing to go to the swamp, but I want to go to a home game where the love's at. I ain't trying to especially if we get to running it up on Florida in there like we did at the Gasparilla Bowl. Them folks gonna be wanting to pour beer on me from the top seat. So
At minimum.
At minimum, you know what I mean? We gonna be out there, and that's the thing. Like, to be honest with you, Roger, like that Florida game, we're ready to go. Like, to be honest with you, because I don't think Florida was that great last year, and I don't know what they're doing this year.
It's time to run Billy Napier out of Florida.
Come on.
Oh, we should beat them. If we don't beat them, there's gonna be problems. I'm gonna be honest with you. And that's just some of the dudes we're talking about. We should beat them.
Yeah, like in all honesty, we as fans, we have the best Twitter mafia out there. So people are talking, you know what I mean? We do a lot of talking. But the thing is, like that, we prove that we can back it up. So let's go back it up. Let's go back it up, man. Let's go back it up for the nation. Because people don't realize, like, Roger, Tre, you're on here. But Tre, Roger knows you got a personal relationship with you as a player. Imagine how Roger must have felt when you did really great. You know what I'm saying? In 2017. Yep. Roger, you and me and Alan, we talk, and that's because of the admiration you have for me as a football player. Like, that's what these guys got to realize as well. Yes, the money's there. Yes, the money's there. You're gonna be at UCF with some of the best weather and most beautiful girls, and get a great degree and everything like that. Because that's a part of it. My wife went there. That's a part of it. You know what I mean?
Me too.
You know what I'm saying, Tre?
Me too.
You find your lifelong love there too. Now, hold on now. So, but what I'm saying is, yes, this is college football has turned into a business now. It's always been a business, but now the players are involved now. So it's different. But don't forget, guys, that if you can set a name for yourself at this university, when football's done, people will know you and people will want to have you around, and people might be able to give you jobs and opportunities and open up networking and things, or be able to invest in you as a person. That's what you can do as well when you do great in college, fellas, on top of getting money. Yep. So, that's something that these kids got to realize, man. On top of you playing for yourself and your family and the money that you're receiving for your NIL or whatever it is, or the opportunity to go to the NFL, you're also playing for the right to be legendary at your campus, for your right to be admired by your fans, and those people being able to, when you're done playing, reach out to you and know what kind of guy you were by what you displayed on the football field. And I think that's a loss. I think that's lost in college football right now in a way.
Well, I mean, and I'll say this for a linebacker, a good one, about $250,000 to $300,000 in NIL money. Those numbers came out today. So, yeah, it's. Hey
man, I had my jersey in the bookstore, man. They should have been breaking me off. Man,
I'm telling you,
you missed out, bro. You
that's
missed
hilarious.
out. But
that's crazy, Roger. $200,000 to $300,000 for a good linebacker.
Yes. That's what the going rate is for quarterbacks. It's between $600,000 and $800,000. There's some serious money floating around out there.
Roger, I got a question for you, Roger. Am I naive in my thinking though? Like that college football is forever changed now, and that my thinking of where I'm thinking is not even viable anymore? Because
I think it is forever changed. I think what you're going to see, honestly, if I'm projecting forward, right, is eventually what'll end up happening is the players are going to end up on a salary. Part of this settlement is setting up the structure for that. And putting some restrictions on NIL. It's been the Wild West It hasn't really been what NIL was intended to be. It's all these collectives just paying money. It's not about, okay, yes, you can go to the local car dealership and they can pay you to do commercials for them, right? That's not what it's turned into. So I hope for the sport, honestly, that we end up getting to a collective bargaining, because ultimately that's what it needs to be. They're introducing salary caps, quote unquote, as part of this settlement, which means you can't spend more than 22% of your ticket and TV revenue, on players. And there's places like Miami that are spending a whole lot more on players than that. So when I say 600 to 800 for a quarterback, Miami's out there. What was it? I can't remember the name of the Florida quarterback that went out there and what's that?
Jaden Rashada.
Yeah, Jalen Rashada. He was $3-4 million, right? Now, Florida couldn't come up with the receipts, right? So they didn't end up paying him. He ended up transferring somewhere else. But that's why
Arizona
he was
State.
Yep. So that's
now he actually transferred to Georgia,
which is probably the best for him. He got paid, and now he's going to a team that'll compete. But at the end of the day, yes, college football has been changed. It's not going back. But what they do need to do is put some guardrails around it, right? So all of this stuff is happening now. I think over the next 3 or 4 years, you're going to start seeing that. And that's part of the reason you're seeing the money flow to the Power Five even more than what it did before. And part of the reason you're losing now it's the Power Four, and you're losing some of these teams that don't bring that value to the conference. So now, what happens to the Vandy's of the world, the Purdue's of the world, all of those folks? What you're seeing now is the ACC is getting ready to strip some of those teams out. And the Big 12 has survived it. They were the first ones that were supposed to go, but they've survived it. The Pac got stripped. Now the ACC is getting stripped. And, for UCF, this is why I say, we've got a contract cycle, so 5 to 8 years, somewhere around there, to make sure that we're above whatever that dividing line is for the brands that need to be that are going to be at the top level of college football. So we have that opportunity to prove that now, and to prove that we are worth the investment. Now, ESPN has consistently invested in us over the years, every time they've moved us up. I do think, they see what we see, which is UCF should have 400,000 to 500,000 living alumni within 10 years. A lot of these schools that are, private schools, the Dukes of the world, whatever, they're going to be in trouble because they just don't bring the TV revenue. And that's ultimately what's going to drive it, and be able to collectively bargain with the players to pay them to be able to compete for that. So, you remember, I saw an example of this the other day. Remember when San Francisco and the Cowboys had their runs?
Yeah,
that was
for sure.
Pre-salary cap. Right? That was
yeah. Even they were paying Dion like a hired gun.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's pre-salary cap. So I think what you're going to see now is they're consolidating that, because the networks are saying, hey, we can't pay much more. And I've been talking about this since 2016, because I used to work for Disney, and I used to see when they made their money and where they made their money, right? ESPN. They're consolidating the brands to get the most out of the brands and pay them the most, because they're going to have to pay a portion of that to the players. So
makes sense.
That's what you're seeing in college football right now. And, part of this is the NCAA has tried to stay out of calling student athletes paid players. And even part of this agreement on the negotiation is the plaintiffs will come back and say, hey, we support legislation that it's officially an exception for these players. So at the end of the day, we just went through a lot of stuff to basically say they're going to get paid. The NCAA is trying to maintain their tax status. I think there's going to be more consolidation down the road. I think the ACC is going to fall apart here pretty soon in the next few years, maybe 2. Depends on what FSU and UNC and all those teams can do, if they can get out of the ACC or not. And I think ultimately the good news is we moved into the Big 12 at the right time. Now, what are we going to do with it? And that's
Yes,
going to
sir.
be the big question: is what are we going to do with it to justify maintaining our status in the highest levels of college football?
Yes, sir. All right. Well,
All right.
I hope that, just to say, I want us to get there, you know what I mean? Because we've worked so hard these last 30 years to get where we've gotten. And, I pray that, this year's team and the coaching staff, they all recognize that we just want to, we're a winning program, and it's because of the work that we put in and honestly who we are at the core, which is just a hardworking blue collar type school who makes it happen. You know what I mean? So
We've always done more with less.
that's a fact. That's a fact, my brother.
So, but that's thanks to all the hard work you guys put in and the coaching staffs, all that stuff, like on all of those eras, right? And that's why I think we're all proud of the program and what we do and why we put blood, sweat, and tears into it. And I think that's why we don't have a bunch of 70-year-old guys sitting in the stands not screaming at the top of their lungs. You want those 35-year-olds scream, 35, 38-year-olds screaming at the top of their lungs. And we're all a part of what UCF football has become and what it will become. It's an investment by the players. It's an investment by the people that are donating. It's an investment by the coaching staffs. It's an investment by the administration to make it a focus. And I think it'll stay that way. All right, man. I don't want your wife to kill me, and this gives me plenty of room to bring you back again because I will. You and I talk outside of the podcast anyway, but I'm going to bring you back in sometime this offseason because we got to talk about some of your games. I want the players' view on that BYU game, what that Fiesta Bowl felt like. Tre talks to us about the Peach Bowl. Some actual, some true locker room stuff that was going on there in that time. What was it really like? What were the toughest moments? I know you were always out there giving speeches. We saw it all the time, but what was that like? What were the personalities like? All that fun stuff. And then obviously what your career has become, because you didn't stop playing football when you left UCF, and you've got a lot of football legacy after that. Although the XFL,
yeah, I understand. Hey, Tre, I got a question. When you caught that pick, what you did with that mouthpiece, my boy?
Hey, it flew out. I remember watching the. I watched the clip. I watched the rerun, and it just flew out. But man, I talk about that all. Like, I don't remember anything from when I caught it, and then I dogpiled. I don't remember anything until after I got out. Like, I don't remember anything from it.
That's hilarious, bro. I remember watching that, bro. Guess what, Tre? So that's how you know. Hey, big bro, always on it. When you caught that pick, guess what I was doing? I was getting ready for the Grey Cup, and I won that the next day. So it's special. I remember it all, kid.
I'm telling you.
So
we got a few.
I can't wait to get back on here to talk about them good times. All right.
Yeah, man.
All right, man. Thank you so much. Give your wife, ask her forgiveness.
Man, you all good, Roger. I was just hoping.
Hey, listen, I was married. I know how this goes.
11:30. I gotta be on point. So that's all. We're gonna get back on here and talk again. I love doing this.
All right, man. Well, we'll definitely have you back on. Like I said, one of my favorite players. You know that. I was there for a lot of your games, and it was always someone who I would look to come through and bring the defense up when they were down. So we appreciate everything you've done, and we'll talk to you a little bit later this offseason. By the way, real quick.
Yep.
I know you do a lot of training with people. Do you want to plug that?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, man. So I work for B3 Better Sports Performance. We're a sports performance gym out here in Jacksonville. We specialize in making your kids bigger, faster, stronger through science. So that's something that we do. It's in the Jacksonville area on Distribution Parkway and Phillips Highway. So, if you get any Jacksonville fans on and got a kid who wants to come train, bring them to us. I also do my own personal training in terms of linebacker skills training. It's called EHF. It stands for eyes, hands, feet. Because those are the three things that you need to be a great linebacker, in my opinion. You need to have good eyes. Your eyes tell you where your hands go. Your feet, follow your eyes. So those are some of the things that I'm doing right now. I also just started a pressure washing company. So if anybody wants to get their driveway, their their sidewalks, I also do pool decks, fences, roofs. I'm in the Jacksonville area too, so the name of my company is True Power Pressure. So I'm just doing a lot of things, man.
Yeah, it's a multipreneur like the rest of us on here. So
that's right. That's right. I'm trying to get it 3 ways.
Hey,
now.
I thought you notice I didn't say the E for everyone this entire show, because this is the one show we're gonna go ahead and put not rated for kids on this one, because
it sounds like Blake has a house that's eventually going to be built that could use some pressure washing. So
All right, yeah, hit me up, man. I'll make that drive down to you, buddy. That's real. I appreciate that.
All right, so yeah, check TP out. You can check him out. He's got his Instagram handle's always got stuff going on from his training, and check out his website to make sure you're booking. Or do you have a website for the pressure washing? TP, we lose you? I think he's frozen. All right, check him out. All right, we're gonna go ahead and let him go. His wife probably grabbed him. Big long hook came in and grabbed him. So we appreciate you, bro, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay, that was great. I always enjoy talking to TP. Just a great human being. Loves football. And we love football. So whenever we get to talk about football, it's a whole lot of fun. Alan, speaking of football, I'm going to go ahead and hand the reins off to you. You've been awful quiet. I'm going to go ahead and let you – Trey B. Exactly. Pause. But I'm going to go ahead and let you take us away with some of the football updates you have here.
Yeah, that was a great segment from TP. Great guy. Happy that we had him on TK1 here. Going to what's going on with the football team. I know last week we said that Mac McWilliams, the DB transfer was the last transfer, but in fact, it was not the last transfer. We actually did have one more scholarship spot open up because unfortunately one of our freshmen from the 2024 class did not qualify for the team. So he will not be on this year's roster, which means we had one spot open up and we didn't use it on a DB. Thank God. So we actually used it on a position of need, which was wide receiver. We've talked about that multiple times on this podcast, that we all felt that was a position that we probably needed one, maybe two more guys. And we did obviously get Jacoby Jones a few weeks ago, but having one more guy wouldn't hurt. And we ended up getting another Auburn guy. Wide receiver Javarius Johnson becomes the 25th overall transfer of the class and the second wide receiver of this spring cycle here. He's a guy that played 4 years at Auburn, has a ton of experience, obviously played for Coach Malzahn while he was the head coach there. And, his 4 years of experience, he was actually Auburn's leading receiver in 2022. As far as yards and catches. Overall, he's compiled 64 catches, over 1,100 yards, and 8 TDs in his career. Coming out of high school, he was a 4-star prospect, considered a 3-star prospect in the portal. Guy that has a lot of experience. Obviously, the last couple of years, Auburn has not been great. Their offense has not been great, so his stats weren't exactly flashy, but he is a guy that has produced a little bit smaller. He's 5'10", only 180 pounds, but he's got a ton of speed. And I watched some of his tape. He's made some great plays. Yeah, I saw him burn a lot of DBs there in the SEC. I just think they didn't really have a great quarterback situation going on the last couple of years. They've been through 2 or 3 coaches recently, so it wasn't in the best situation. So I think this was a good pickup for us, a guy that, is coming in with a lot of experience. And now I think I counted that is the 9th former Auburn transfer we've had, all guys that have formerly played for Malzahn while he was there. So, someone I think that will know the system very quickly because he did it for a couple of years with coach, and someone that has 1 year of eligibility remaining. So should get some good playing time across from, Kobe and Xavier Townsend, and I guess maybe Jacoby Jones. So that really rounds out. I mean, if you want to get greedy, maybe UCF could use like one more offensive lineman, but man, we don't know if these guys are going to be good, I guess. I mean, it's all on paper right now, but they really filled all the positions that they had of need and added a ton of depth seemingly at almost every position. So that was a good final pickup for UCF football there to finish the portal season.
Yeah, metric ton of talent, honestly, when we're talking about this, right? Josh, any thoughts on Javarius Johnson and how he fits into our wide receiver core?
Nope. sorry. I need to get a little break in there. Look, so I'm 100% with Alan here. There are just some areas we have need in, right? And we just need some wide receivers, if not for depth, to hopefully have either, well, really it's for if something breaks down or they're really that good that they can start pushing Kobe and X and all that to where they need to be. So in all truthfulness, I like hearing we're not getting more DBs because we have like 79 of them, and we're getting more positions of need for Javarius as a player. Not as much, but the fact we have someone who's worked with Gus Malzahn, probably knows the offense pretty darn well already, has a good amount of experience against teams that we're hopefully going to beat next year. I'm excited about it.
Awesome. Tre, how about you? Any thoughts? Wide receiver was definitely a position that we didn't think was going to be a need, but turned into one.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's, again, quality depth. Like you guys said, he came from a big time school, probably made some big time plays. It's hard with me with transfers because I'm more visual. I have to see, what they look like, how they fit into this game. I think you'll know more once we get into the fall, and coming out of camp. But I mean, it's exciting. Anytime we can add depth to the position of need, you will never complain about that. Because I want the best guys on the field no matter what. So I think that's the best thing we can ask for.
Yep, super excited about this. I think we've got enough depth now that we can make a difference. So I'm excited about that. Let's go ahead and talk about another transfer. Pivot.
It was not quite. I was trying. I was setting it up, but
yeah, I know. I was looking over at the show notes and not you doing this. So, but let's go ahead and pivot to UCF basketball. UCF basketball did pick up another transfer. Surprise, surprise, another guard.
It's like the DBs for basketball, but for guard.
yeah. 100%.
Exactly.
Hey,
although they're a little bit taller.
We're not AJ Ramza size. Shout out to AJ for getting engaged, and he was still a killer on the basketball field. Jeez, it's late on the basketball floor. But at least, like, the man's 6'6", right? It's not. We're not talking
like small forward.
We're not talking.
It's combo guards, right? So these are combo guards. So he's a combo guard. He's 6'6", 210 pounds. 7.3 points per game, 2.4 rebounds over 3 career years. He started 36 games in his career for Georgia Tech. He's a senior. He's originally from Memphis, so we're stealing more of Memphis's talent. Ben actually isn't able to be here with us this week, but shout out to Ben and his dad, who's recovering from some surgery. But and I can't fill in. He had some comments he wanted to talk about, so I'm going to let him talk about it next week. But the one thing that was in our text talk thread when we saw this was, are we building Houston Part 2? Right. So that was a big part of that conversation. Is Johnny Dawkins looking for, to put together something similar to what Houston has done for years now? And has had success. Now, one of the things Houston had done is, again, they've been doing it 4 years now. So the question is going to be, how will they gel when they come together? Will they bond as closely and as quickly as what this past year's team did? Because they really did, considering how many transfers came in. And can we can we defensively gel as much as offensively this season? Because we've got some size, we have added some shooters, and we've got some returning players, and our 5-star center recruit who's supposed to be reclassifying had competed this past weekend in a tournament and had 20. I think he averaged 25 points per game, or had 25 points in a game. So we've got some size coming in there. But this season, it's going to be all about how quickly those pieces can come together. But it certainly looks like we didn't put a premium on size as we've done in the past, and it's more about being flexible, which Ben pointed out. Johnny has recruited a lot of players over the years that have been multi-role type of players who can play multiple roles on the court. So excited to see that. We'll wish Ben well, and hopefully we'll allow him to give a full debrief next week when he's back with us. All right, so time to pivot again to UCF baseball. We did win the series against Baylor, and 2-1. I don't know what happened that second game. We still weren't able to sweep a Big 12 team.
So that starting pitcher was throwing fire. And we just couldn't hit it. That's truthfully at the end of the day that we got. That happens with one good pitcher. It can happen, but it should have been a sweep.
Yeah. So, and this is a pitcher that had some rest. He was pitching in relief for most of the season, and only the last couple of weekends was he actually starting. So he had some strength left in his arm. They won. I think it was 4-0 during that game, and our hitting was just off. That being said, it was good enough for us to get into 8th place in the Big 12 tournament, which starts tomorrow. And as far as looking at our RPI versus what we needed to win versus getting into, the postseason, I think that if we win one game, which will be Cincinnati tomorrow at 5:00, if we beat Cincinnati tomorrow, I think it's pretty much a lock for an at-large bid. I think that right now, depending on what else happens, and again, we're in a position where it's kind of precarious because, some of this depends on what the other teams do in their conference championships, because some of the 1-bid teams and 2-bid teams, if they have a team that played really, really well, but then didn't win the conference championship, just like in basketball, when you're on the bubble, you run the risk of being left out. I don't think this is the case for us, but it'd be great to have a good showing against Cincinnati. We win that game, I think we're in no matter what. So, we rested Stagliano, our starting pitcher. So I think Coach Wally will probably start Stags, and our bullpen will be rested. So if we win one and we beat Cincinnati, which we were close the last times we played them, then I think we're in. So looking good for UCF baseball to get into regionals. UCF softball, on the other hand, as we mentioned earlier, beat Auburn the first time around. Then we lost to FSU, and then which I don't know if you guys watched this or not. I know I did. They started the game, the losers bracket game, way late. They didn't finish up until like 3 a.m.
3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So it was originally they were supposed to play FSU at 1 o'clock, and they ended up getting pushed to 6. 5.
5 or
Yeah.
6. I think it was 5.
Yeah. And the thing with that, when you go from the winners bracket and then you lose, it's all elimination games. And FSU, they just went home relaxed. UCF had to wait on the first elimination game to end, which after was a 4-hour delay. Then they had to play an elimination game that night, which ended up going into 12 innings, which was like 3 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. They ended up finishing. So it was it was rough.
But I think this is, indicative of the season this year. I mean, we did well in the Big 12. I think we ended up placing 5th in the conference.
Yeah.
Which for softball, it seemed like all year long we were missing some of that clutch hitting that we had before. Sarah Willis was a superstar in the circle for us this year. She pitched her heart out against Auburn, and it just didn't happen. It was one of those years where we had a lot of good highlight type games, but we lost a lot of one-run games, a lot, like more than what you would expect. So the good news is Coach Bear did bring in a lot of really, really talented freshmen, 2 of them that cracked the starting rotation already. And, we expect that the future is bright, and it shows that we're recruiting at a much higher level. So I expect, next year we're going to be losing the likes of Jada Cody and some of the other stalwarts of this team. But I expect the UCF to continue to build. It's been one of our most successful programs in a very short period of time, and made it. I think this is their 4th regional in a row that they made it to.
I think so.
So
this is probably the best core group. Like the way we look at, in my opinion, like we look at that Mackenzie Milton, Adrian Killen, that class of guys. Like that was one of the best groups to come through. And then you look at TP and them, that group was one of the best years to come through. That was for softball. That was probably the best group. I mean, that's the group where most of those girls were key contributors, some of the best players on that team of the regional we hosted and won, the first time we did it. A lot of them were playing as sophomores, and that was, so I think that's probably one of the best. So it's going to be a lot to replace. They're probably, a lot of them are going to go down. I think a lot of records they broke, a lot of good players were on that team. So again, I tip my hat to them. They the best thing about it is they took the program to the higher heights, and I think that's what a lot of athletes, at least when I was playing, that's what we tried to do. Leave it better than how you found it. That's the way you want to go out, and they definitely did that. So again, props to them. And again, it'll be interesting to see how we replace it. Coach Bear's a great coach. I know some of the girls she's recruiting to come in are studs, especially there's one pitcher coming down that's from down in Miami. That's coming, and she's a stud. So we'll see. We'll see what they can do.
All right. Now it's time to pivot again. And we're here for Alan's Oxymoronic Stat of the Week. Alan Levin, what do you have for us this week?
Don't have one this week.
Wow.
There's really no stat to go on this week. I mean, all the seasons.
There's lots of stats to go on.
What?
What is that? Is there a lot of stats to go on?
There's lots.
Not for Alan. For Alan. Sports he watches.
Yeah.
Not for football.
Not for football.
This should have been an entire linebacker stat. He could have put in TP up against Ishmael and Gibson and even Tre and figure out who has.
He had
not linebackers.
Yeah,
none of those were linebackers.
Yeah, not one of those was linebacker.
We all played safety.
That's true. That's true. But you know what I mean.
I wasn't going to say anything, but Alan just called it out. I think there's a budding rivalry between stats and facts. And we saw it last week, and I think Alan took the kill shot this week.
It's all good. That was facts.
All right. So since Alan didn't do any homework this week,
did show notes. You always get props for the show notes, even if they come an hour before the episode. It's still there.
Wow. More digs. Alan, the next time you come to Orlando, we've got to go have a drink with Josh, I think.
We'll see that. We can make it happen. Yeah.
All right. So moving on from Alan's oxymoronic stats of the week that don't exist, let's go ahead and yeah, exactly. It's ironic. Just a little ironic. Just a little too ironic. Okay, sorry. Josh's sometimes funny fact of the week. Josh, take it away.
So Roger is now the infamous pop artist that we're going to talk about. Okay, so I actually, thankfully, amazingly, out of all the things we talked about with TP. This did not actually come up yet. Exactly. So he appeared on 7 professional football teams, including 2 NFL teams. Name 3 of them.
3 of the
TP?
NFL teams? So you just said
3,
there was 2.
no. 3 of the teams of the 7 professional football teams that he played for.
Oh,
Vikings,
Redskins. He played for the Redskins.
Redskins,
Yep.
Vikings.
And
Dolphins? No.
there's only 2 NFL.
well,
a Canadian- it's a
Are we
Canadian
counting
team.
XFL?
Edmonton.
Nope.
Are we counting XFL?
The Orlando. What was the
Apollos.
green team?
Orlando Apollos.
Apollos,
That
yeah.
would be one.
Yeah, then
Okay.
then he was in the Tampa Stampede, I
Yeah.
think, or whatever they were called.
They were green.
Vipers?
I know they were like a
Vipers?
lime green.
Vipers.
Tampa Bay
Yeah,
Vipers.
Vipers.
You have 3 more.
The Hamilton Cats or something like that.
It's close enough. Tiger Cats. You get
Tiger
that.
Cats.
2 more.
These are Canadian teams.
One is not.
Edmonton, something.
No. You trying to keep putting.
The Toronto Argonauts or Argonauts. Toronto
You
Argonauts.
got it. Yes. So one more. One more is
And
the
what league is
latest.
this other one in?
XFL.
It's who knows anymore.
Okay, so it's XFL or AFL.
One of those, yeah.
You said Tampa. We said Orlando. Oh man, I don't remember those team names.
Me either.
Okay,
Birmingham.
No.
Was it
And
another
that's why,
Orlando?
and
Wasn't
that's
it
why
like
the
another-
leagues don't exist right there.
Hold on,
That's
Alan.
why.
I think
Wait, it was
you're
another
getting-
Orlando team, wasn't it?
Yes.
It was. We said the Apollos. It was
Yeah.
the
Predators.
No.
the
Or the Rage, not the Rage.
I don't know, the muscular guys. I don't know what that.
I know.
Well, that was the Apollos. They had like little.
Oh, I forgot what was that Orlando team named, because there was a bunch of UCF guys on that team. I remember at
Yeah.
one point.
I can get it to you if you want to take.
I'm not going to remember it. Yeah.
And there are people who are going to be listening to this in their car at home, going, "The Guardians, the Guardians."
Oh, I knew that too. I
Guardian.
freaking knew that. Golly.
You got 6 out of 7. I'm impressed for that. So you
You
guys
only
did a great
asked for
job.
3. We doubled it up, so I'll take it.
Yeah, that's great. You did great.
And see, Alan actually watches football, so he knew a lot of these.
Man, we all everyone loves TP. Like, you had to follow. Like, he's like everyone's favorite linebacker.
Oh.
So I feel like
Yeah.
I followed him. I remember
Yeah,
that first year on the Redskins. I can call it the Redskins because they were the Redskins back then.
true. That's factual.
And who the second NFL was it? You said it was the Vikings.
The Vikings. Yeah.
I
Vikings,
don't remember
yeah.
the Vikings. I do remember the Redskins. I remember he got a
I think he was
couple
number 40
tackles.
on the Vikings.
Yeah,
He had
I
like 3
remember that.
tackles, I think.
He had about 13 or so in preseason, but only 1 official tackle in the NFL on special teams.
I was
All right,
surprised
right.
he didn't make the roster with the Redskins.
Me
I was
too,
very-
man. Me too.
I agree, and you know that's not even black and gold colored glasses. I mean, So when I was at the Fiesta Bowl in January 1st, 2014, but I was there, and man, like there was another league, if you will, of beatdown that shouldn't have really happened, quote unquote, right? You know, the team believes, but you know,
I'm
no one
putting
else.
70 confidence points on Baylor. They're going to win.
Exactly. So, and like TP was all over the place, over and over. And when you two are talking head and heart, those are the things that don't, like, pure athleticism always does translate when you go up a league, but at some point you need something more than that, unless you're Rob Gronkowski maybe, but
or Randy Moss.
Randy Moss,
and even those guys are very upstairs. I mean, Gronk acts dumb for his character,
but
he's a very intelligent football player.
Well, I mean, even when he was on that roast and he said, like, I saw what was going on, I just went for the end zone and it's a touchdown to Gronk, right? Like, you can't just not understand what's going on and improvise that. I just don't feel like anyone can improvise that level of football that consistently over that long.
Guys are too good.
Yeah. So anyway, great job, guys, and yeah, I love watching TP for several years. He's amazing as a college player, and still I agree. A little shocked he didn't have more. he didn't have more time in the NFL like that other linebacker Kamal Ishmael. So
that other linebacker Kamal Ishmael. Are you
come
serious?
on, I had to.
I know you're joking.
Yeah.
Gosh.
I think he ended up playing some linebacker at the end of his career.
Ishmael ended up playing what, like 8 years in the NFL, I think. He had a long career.
He started playing some at the end of his career.
He was on the Falcons forever.
Yeah, I remember when he was on the Falcons.
I can't think
36,
of
I think.
who was the other guy that besides Stanback that played defense. I think he was a DB that played a bunch of years in Canada. I can't remember.
Brandon Alexander.
Yeah, Brandon.
Yeah.
He won the Grey Cup, I believe.
Yeah,
you mentioned somebody like a wide receiver from New York. I don't know.
The 2015 team.
He's like originally from New York, or you're saying he played?
Yeah, he was originally from. Well, he played high school in New York, and then George O'Leary brought him down, and he did all the circus catches. I can never remember.
All I can remember from New York was Latavius and then Stanback. Was there what? I mean, Rob Calabrese was from New York too, I believe.
Yeah, Calabrese was, but there was a wide receiver. Josh will look it up while
he made a circus catches. What Wharton made the circus?
Oh, Wharton? No,
he
wasn't
not
from
Wharton.
New York.
Wharton was from Florida.
I don't remember anybody from 2015 that was from New York that played receiver.
All right. Well, you talked about him before too, Trey, because we talked about him on the show.
I remember. Like he would take people, like he had such deep coaching roots in Long Island that like people would contact him and just say, "Hey, this is not a normal guy from New York."
Yeah, and nobody's going to recruit him but you. Like, come get him.
Yeah, and it wasn't like a Troy Green situation. It was like legit. There's been a couple like real legit ones, and that's now I got to figure that out because I used to know all the Long Island people, but it's been a hot minute. We're all
New York is more than Long Island, right?
No, there's no such thing. It's a city and island. No one knows about upstate. Sorry, Syracuse.
So
listen,
that 2015 team. Think about this. Jordan Franks was on that team. Tristan Payton was on that team.
Darren Wilson was a wide
receiver. Smith. That's who I was trying to.
He's from New York.
He's from Delray.
I thought you meant Traquan because.
Oh, you're right. Okay, I thought he was from New York for some reason.
No, he's from Delray.
He's from Delray.
That was the only.
They were all my roommates. Franks was my roommate. Traquan was my roommate, and then Chris Davis, who played at Oviedo.
Like Trey's, like he's not from New York. That's why I was wondering the New York part because no, Traquan was one of the standout players of 2015.
He was the only standout player in the.
Yeah, he would remember he would catch it off of he's bending over backwards, catching it off the DB's.
I mean, he's arguably the best receiver in school history. I mean,
I'm not gonna lie. When he was a freshman, he was doing that to all the everybody on that defense. Like that defense
top
he
three
played on,
all
he was destroying them records.
All time. Yeah, I think he's
in my opinion, he's the best one to come. In my opinion, I mean, I'm biased.
A lot of people say
if he would have had a quarterback that could throw to him, then that was.
He had McKenzie. He had McKenzie
at the end.
But, I mean, he had KZ that Peach Bowl year where he was really good.
And the
year before that, KZ was all right.
Well, KZ wasn't good the year before.
He was learning and growing as a freshman.
And then our first year, Holman got hurt, so he missed like 8 or 9 games. Yeah.
Well, that's what made it.
That was DJ Mack.
Oh wait, no, that's his hand. That's right.
Yeah, Holman hurt his hand against Stanford.
Yeah, that would make Traquan Smith's
helmet.
15.
Yeah.
Well, 2015
that was the most unlucky year.
Quarterbacks.
Alan is really trying to get this in here, this comment. So let me stop.
Say it again.
I was just saying that he had 4 quarterbacks that his freshman year, so it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, you had Patty, you had
Tyler Harris, and Bo.
Yeah,
and Bo. Yeah.
I remember that game. I remember that year. Somebody got hurt almost every game, and I remember every play. I remember every pivotal moment of when I was like, "Oh, we're about to lose this game." But I can't think of all the other years. I don't remember the pivotal moments.
Well, here's the thing.
I was like,
right? And I was going to ask
that year. I remember all of it.
I was going to ask TP about that, about the injuries, on that team throughout the year. And that's something I'll talk about when we come back to it. One thing people don't think about is how many injuries there are throughout a football season that these guys are playing with. And for them to make it all season long to play these games, that's a lot. And they're playing hurt. They're playing hurt. And Josh says he's a linebacker. Yes. So, they're playing hurt. So if they're playing hurt, that's going to affect their performance. But a lot of those guys on that original, that 2012, 2013, 2014 team, other than the quarterbacks, most of them kept playing. There weren't that many players that sat out. So, when we're talking about depth versus P5, physiques now that we're playing, does that make a difference? Playing those guys week in and week out versus not. So, all right. Josh needs to be doing the scrolling banners right now because he's talking about what War Chant approved in the.
Were you talking about the physique of our players in the modern era?
No, I was saying the physique of the other players in the P5 compared to who they were playing in the AAC.
You want to talk about their musculature? Is that
No, I'll leave that to you, Josh. All right. So without that being said, we've already talked about UCF softball. UCF rowing did compete in the championship this weekend as well. One of the things about UCF rowing is we've always had a strong team. Our field, we were competing with the likes of Alabama, Oklahoma, Texas. Texas, I think, has the #1 rowing team in the country. So we, random facts. This is my fun fact of the week. But we placed third in a lot of events, and above Alabama. So that says a lot about the rowing team and their ability to move up within conferences. So that was super exciting. And I think that pretty much covers UCF sports that Alan didn't watch this week.
Yeah, I mean track is pretty much done. Softball is done. Baseball's coming up. Probably by the time you listen to this, they'll hopefully have won a game. But we're getting towards the middle of the summer. I mean, classes barely started a week ago.
Days.
So.
The dog days, yeah, and fall
Talk
camp.
about the Olympics soon.
But summer is exciting because that means we're right before fall camp.
Exactly.
That's like the point where it's like, all right, it's getting kind of close.
Yeah, exactly. Close. All right. Well, with that, just remind everyone to please like, subscribe, follow. Thank you to all those folks. I see the numbers going up. I see more people engaging with the content. So I appreciate that. Make sure you check out the College Huddle. Make sure you support Nye, who's got our Instagram account started up and going to be posting some content there. So follow us at the Knighted Ones on Instagram. And, just have a great week. We have a lot of fun doing this, and it's always fun to talk to former players like that. And especially TP is just a great person, and make sure you support him and what he's doing now. With that, go Knights and
charge on.
All right, let's go.
So we're not going to talk about Mary at all? That's just not going to be a thing.